Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. My name's OwenAlec and on this channel I do everything drum related, like drum covers, tutorials, and videos on tips and advice, just like this one. So if you are new, please do consider subscribing. Now I should say that everything that you're going to hear in this video is stuff that I've done before, so I am speaking from personal experience. So today in this video I want to talk about my top 7 drumming mistakes that you should avoid. So let's kick this off with number 1, cheap gear. This doesn't necessarily mean gear that doesn't cost a lot. I mean cheaply made gear. You can find a lot of deals out there for second-hand stuff and it's cheap and it'll do really nicely. However, when you buy actually cheap gear that's made cheaply, it's not going to last very long and you're going to have to continually replace it, which in the long run could end up costing you more money. Now, I'm not suggesting that you need to go out and buy thousands and thousands of pounds worth of gear straight off that's, you know, the highest end stuff, but buying something that's maybe second-hand that originally was quite dear, that you can maybe get a good bargain, or getting something that's kind of intermediate, middle of the road type stuff, it's going to last you a lot longer, but then also it's not going to cost the whole world. Tip number 2 essentially leads on from tip number 1. This is quality over quantity. Now again, you don't need to buy stuff for the sake of it. I am very much guilty of this. You might see from behind me that I've got a lot of gear. Now over the years, I created this massive drum kit. You'll see at the start of my channel actually, I had a Mapex Saturn, the kit that was absolutely massive. 2 bass drums, load of toms, load of cymbals, everything. It was just huge amounts of everything. And I didn't actually need it. I wanted it because I thought it looked cool, I thought it was going to make me play better, and it turned out that wasn't the case. That being said, I then started scaling down a little bit and making things a little bit more compact, mainly for ease of setting up and packing down, that kind of stuff. But then it also kind of made me value what I had, so I was able to utilize that in different ways. For example, on my old kit, I had probably about 5 crashes, and while that was nice and having all those different options, it got a bit overwhelming, and I was finding that when I was writing music, I wasn't utilizing them and I was just putting them up there, and I might hit it once in a song or in, you know, a few songs. So scaling things down a little bit allowed me to focus what I was actually playing and concentrate on more of what I was writing rather than just hitting things for the sake of it. But anyone who knows me knows that I am very much a 1 cymbal or 1 drum per job type guy. I don't like things like crash rides, they're not my thing. That's why my ride that I've got, I don't think I've ever washed with, I've never actually laid into it. I always use it for that kind of glassy ping sort of sound. So I was actually able to sell a lot of the extended stuff that I had, like the extra snares and things like that. And in doing that, I raised enough money to then buy one really good quality thing. And I think that's one of the things you want to do as you get a little bit more experienced in your drumming, is having the quality over quantity. Tip number 3 is something that I am very much guilty of, and something that I really think that any drummer just starting out, or intermediate drummer, or even expert drummer if you like, really needs to take into account. This is not comparing yourself to your idols. Something that you have to bear in mind, a lot of the time your idols, for me it's people like Luke Holland, Alex Bent, Ray Hearn, etc. You know, these people are incredible players because they have been working at their craft for years and years, but then they also had this slight obsession with it. So for the rest of us, our regular drummers if you like, we might not have the same kind of obsession that they had, where they were practicing 8 hours a day, every single day, you know, without fail, and they wouldn't have had other things going on in their life potentially. I'm using it as a general rule, not as a specific thing. Everyone's different, everyone will have approached it differently. And also, people will have had different skill sets from the beginning. You know, some people have a natural flair for that kind of stuff, other people don't. Just the way it is. Essentially, the fact is, don't compare yourselves to those, because they're at the top of their field and they've got amazing chops, they've been really working at it, whereas you might be a little bit behind that, or quite a bit behind that, and you're looking at them thinking, oh, I'm never gonna be able to play stuff like that. Well, yes, you can actually, if you put the time in like they did. You've not seen the behind the scenes where they have spent years honing their craft and working on, you know, even just the smallest little bit of their repertoire. So don't be comparing yourself to that, and just carry on with what you're doing. Focus on the task that you've got in front of you. Focus on getting it down the best to your ability, and then moving on to the next thing. By all means, use them as inspiration and think, that's my goal, that's what I want to be like. Absolutely, you should always be doing stuff like that, because you can see what's possible. And then because you know that that's possible, you can aim for it. But if you fall short of that, or you're struggling to kind of get to that, don't worry about it. Just focus on what you're doing and then get to the next goal, and so on. Tip number 4 is something that's only really been integrated into my practice sessions in recent years. This is not doing the typical power through your practice sessions. Now, the reason why I say this is because you can get to a point where your body is hurting, it's aching, and it's telling you something. If you then try to power through it and you think, oh no, I just need to get through this bit and it'll be absolutely fine, I'll feel better after that. No, your body is saying that enough is enough, you need to stop. If you keep powering through something like that, you're gonna hurt yourself, you're gonna damage yourself, and therefore you're gonna stop yourself being able to practice or play for even longer. Just take a break, even if it's a 5-minute break or a 10-minute break, or if you after that amount of time like that, if you've taken a 15-minute break and you're still not feeling right, finish it there. Take the rest of the day off, or at least take a few hours off, kind of thing. Have an extended break, then come back to it. It's very easy to overdo it. Your body can only go through so much trauma at first before you're able to bring up that stamina, and then it's able to take on those kind of practice sessions for even longer. So just take regular breaks. Don't push your body too hard, and then eventually you can then start to push it a little bit further and further, and then eventually you'll be able to have the stamina that you're looking for. But looking after yourself, not just your body, your mind while you're playing, is hugely important. Like I say, take regular breaks, drink plenty of water, and just look after yourself while you're playing. The more you look after yourself, the more yourself will look after your drumming. So tip number 5 is a big mistake that I keep seeing people making, whether or not I'm at a gig, or if people send me a message saying, oh, I can't quite get this down. This is not putting enough time into your playing. Now, in the last tip, I basically said about not overdoing it. Well, you can do the opposite, where you don't do enough. And you'll get, halfway through a practice session and you're kind of thinking, well, I'm a little bit out of breath, so I'll just call it there, No, don't do that. Push yourself a little bit, fine. The thing is, you've got to find a nice balance. You've got to know the stuff, you've got to learn your parts, and make sure you're learning them to a good enough standard. Because if you went to a studio, fair enough, you know the parts, but you're not executing them the way that the band wants, they're not going to invite you back. So instead of you playing a 4/4 beat, straight 4/4 beat that's, dead easy, AC/DC type stuff, but it's kind of out of sync, like your snare and your kick are something, or your hats and your kick, they're not landing perfectly, there's a bit of a flam there. That's noticeable, even to musicians that aren't necessarily drumming adept, they don't know really that much about it, they can still hear it. So when it comes to recording something, like I say, you're not getting the best out of you, and you're not getting the best out of the music. So I will always recommend you practice to a click. Even if you practice to the song that they've sent you, make sure that you're practicing either to a click, or if you programmed your drums in previously, so you got something like Superior Drummer, where everything is snapped to grid, and you practice to that, and if you can't hear the MIDI drums in the background, you're doing it right. It's the same with the click. If you're playing along and you can't hear the click, that's good, because then that means that you're playing perfectly on time. Now, depending on the genre, you actually might want to kind of just be a little bit ahead of the beat, or just a little bit behind the beat. That's fine. Being able to swing either one of those ways is brilliant if you've actually got that in your arsenal. However, you still need to be playing in time with yourself. And I promise you, just being a little bit more self-critical in that way, and just kind of thinking to yourself, do I actually have this down? And video yourself, look back at it, record yourself actually with the audio going through a computer or something like that, even if you just have a single mic, and just kind of see if it's all syncing up. You can kind of see the waveforms. Is it sat where it needs to be sat? Or can you go back to it and you're thinking, right, okay, most of the time I'm a bit ahead of the beat here. I'll go back to it and I'll just be a bit more conscious about what I'm playing, and I'll just slow down just a fraction and see where it sits then. Now for tip number 6, this is something that I have fallen foul of in the past, but in recent years I've been very, very lucky to kind of avoid this, and I've worked with some amazing musicians. But tip number 6 is to stop working with horrible musicians. And I'm not saying musicians that aren't good enough at the playing, I'm saying people that aren't good to hang with. If you're in a band with someone who's constantly calling the shots and just being really horrible and unconstructive and just not a very nice person to be around, very negative, that's going to impact you and your playing, but then it's also going to extend further than that. If you're like me, where you're always very self-critical and you're always wondering what can I do better and all this kind of stuff, when you're working with someone that's critical of what you're doing, but in a bad way, in a negative way, that's really going to impact you even more, and it's going to affect your mental health. And essentially, drumming is also a very mentally heavy instrument, because you've got to be able to understand what it is that you're playing, as well as being able to actually physically play it. So working with musicians that makes your life a little bit easier, and it's a nice environment, it's going to bring out the best in you. You've got to start looking after yourself before you can start looking after the rest of the band. So tip number 7 is arguably one of the most important, because it kind of encompasses everything that we've talked about in this video. This is about not having a that'll do mindset. One of the most harmful things that I've come across in my own playing, I've fallen foul of this myself, but then talking to other musicians, all of them said that any time that they've said to themselves, that'll do, they've automatically gone, well, actually no, that's not good enough. And they've gone back and practiced again, because anytime they have said that'll do and they've just left it there, they've had a really shit experience either in the studio or a live gig. Instead of having a that'll do mindset, think about what it is that you're playing, and is it a yes, that's amazing, that's the final product that I wanted to hear, or no, it's not quite there. Even if you're kind of thinking to yourself, that'll do, no, it won't do, because you want things, anything that you put out into the world is going to be there forever. So you have to be putting stuff out there that's the best of your ability at that time. So if you come up with something, a drum beat or you've played something either on the record or you're just still in the practice room, you need to be thinking to yourself, if that'll do, it won't do. Is it amazing? Is it actually exactly what you want to hear? Exactly the end product that you want to put out there? Is it the best that it can be? And are you seriously proud of what you've just done? If yes, then it'll do, essentially, or it's good enough. If you're just kind of thinking, yeah, it's on the edge, but it does what it needed to do, it's okay, then work at it some more. Have another couple of takes. Come back to it the next day and just practice it a little bit more. Have a few more hours on it. I guarantee you, just reevaluating what you've done and either doing it again or just looking at it slightly differently in a different format, it will make all the difference, and it will show in the end product. You'll kind of look at what you considered good enough and then what you consider to be amazing. They will be worlds apart, and you will notice a massive difference, I promise. So that's it for this video. Let me know what you thought in the comment sections below. Did I miss anything? Again, let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.